Hi, this is Quinn, and welcome to QuinTech. So I'm continuing working on this Amiga 2000, my Amiga 2000, and what I'm going to do is clean up the board and do some other work. So come along for the journey. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so we are continuing with this Amiga 2000. Corrosion's a little bit worse than I originally thought. Look at all this green. So my first thing I'm going to do is take this, hopefully this comes out easily enough. So it came out, thank goodness. That's the good side. Look at all that. All that corrosion. Not good. And the green goes all the way up there. And it started here. And it just continues on. So I've watched a few videos and they say to use vinegar. And I bought some vinegar today. But wow, that's a lot worse than I originally thought it was going to be. That's all around the processor. Now, the processor itself, even though it does have some greening, most of the legs, a lot of the legs on this side are green from that battery leakage corrosion. All the legs feel okay, and they are stiff, so hopefully I can just clean that. I'm going to try that with vinegar. Hey guys, I skipped a couple of steps. I did put some vinegar around here and scrubbed it with Q-tips or cotton swabs, or in England as they call them, cotton buds. And I think it's not as bad as I originally was worried about. However, I did put it in there and I let it dry, and I didn't have any alcohol, because right now it's really hard to find alcohol, rubbing alcohol. I can't find 99.9% ibuprofen. I mean, I just don't have that kind of budget, but I can find rubbing alcohol. Luckily today I found a little small bottle of 70%. So, and a friend of mine at my job, I work at a hotel. She actually, I was telling her about this, and she gave me this little squirt bottle. I don't know what the percentage is, and she said it had rubbing alcohol in it. So I'm going to use some of this. I put a lot of vinegar on here, but I want to clear that off. So I'm just going to do that. And I have seen some other people online do this kind of technique with a little squirt bottle. That might have been too much, but I'm a beginner, so let's see. It seemed pretty cleaned up here, but now like the green is sort of coming back in this area, and now I'm seeing some green here that I didn't notice before. On this connector for the keyboard. So I'm going to try a little bit of cleanup. And the thing about alcohol, the reason electronics people like it is it evaporates quickly. And that's why I wanted to have some, which I did have, and I no longer have it. And yes, 70% may still have a little bit more water in it than your better 91% or 99% isopropanol, but it should still have that same evaporating effect. Now this is something I didn't show. I did some cleanup off camera, and these are a lot of the ones I used before, and you'll see a lot of green on those, and I don't think that's so much from the corrosion, but I think that's from this actual the green on the circuit board is sort of coming up, and it's not so much from me scrubbing it, but from the corrosion. The corrosion took the lacquer cover off of this, which allowed this actual green of the PCB to be lifted off. Now I'm feeling actually pretty good about this board, even though there is a little bit up here. I'm not an expert. I just know that these old Amiga 2000 boards, they're pretty solid, and the original manufacturers, well, I don't know about the manufacturers, but the original designers of the board, they took a lot of pride in their work, and I think this might be okay. I did pull the 68,000 out of the socket, which I didn't show on screen before, and it does have a little bit of, it's slightly greened, and it was a lot worse. I cleaned that up a little bit with the vinegar, and it seems like the pins are pretty good. I had to straighten out a couple of these pins because they seemed a little bent, but none of them are broken. Look, this one on the end, I still need to like fiddle with just slightly because it's sort of bent out. I want to make sure when I put it back in, like they'll all slot in properly. And I was worried about this side with where the ROM chip goes in. And this ROM chip actually has I can't see any damage on it at all. On either side. No corrosion. So I don't think it leached all the way that far. Like I say, this is a new thing I just noticed right here. So it may have gone this way and come up these, but on the back of it, like none of the wiring or anything looks green. I don't know. I don't know how that happened. But I'll clean it up because I want to do the best job I can possibly do with my little bit of knowledge. So there was vinegar all over this area, and it smells like I was eating a salad with Italian dressing, and I'm actually playing with a circuit board, so I was not eating salad, although I do need to eat more salad. However, I think if I clean this up, I am going to try a smoke test here in a bit, as they call it. Because, I mean, none of these capacitors, this capacitor looks okay, this capacitor looks okay, this one looks okay, this one, and there are many throughout the board. These three, even though they're bent over, I mean, that's how they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be bent. Well, this is the ones I earlier had to scoot a couple over because they were kind of in the way of taking this connector off. The connector itself, no corrosion. The connector itself, no corrosion at all. There are some down here in between each of these slots. They are not, they seem okay. And I don't have the kind of money or the skills to like recap my entire system. So I'm gonna try it as soon as I get this finished. It doesn't seem that bad. Like I say, I started the system up about 15 years ago and played with it for a couple of months, and it seemed to work fine. I think my keyboard might be a little screwy. I might have to do some work on that. I still have the original keyboard. I think some of the keys didn't work, maybe the space bar. At the time, back then, 15 years ago. But I'm going to plug it back in, see what's going on with it. And I've seen some repair videos recently that they tell you to take it all apart and clean it. Use contact cleaner, which I don't have, but I do have some rubbing alcohol. I'm going to try that, and we'll see what happens. I mean, a lot of these older electronics, they were made well. I mean, this board, copyright 1988, right? It's 2020. That's 32 years ago. So, who knows? We can try it. There is a lot of dust all over the system. I'm thinking maybe take a toothbrush and some more of this alcohol, and maybe I'll scrub down the entire board just to get some of the dust off. Because dust sometimes can cause contacts between components. But other than that, hey, I think it's going to work. I'm going to be optimistic. And like they do, fingers crossed, it should be good. So for now, I'm going to work on this a little bit more. and I will be back with an update. I cleaned up all around here. What I did was I poured some vinegar on there, which will neutralize the corrosion from the battery leakage, and it didn't get too terribly bad. I don't think it might be on here actually. Now that I look under the camera, there might be some on these resistors and capacitors or whatever those are. However, my biggest concern was the 68,000 chip, and as you can see, actually, now that I'm looking with this magnified under this camera, I had used this pick tool. After I put the vinegar on here, I just put the pick just in this first hole, and I noticed it kind of pushed down, and you can see that here, but it looks like there are several other legs that look like they've been deteriorated. Like this one, and this one. And I didn't touch these with the pick. I'm just now looking at this more closely. So there was a band of corrosion that went from the bottom here up to about there. Maybe the next couple pins, but somewhere in that area. So the battery from here leaked all the way up to this area. And also the 68,000 chip, which I also forgot to record. I'm sorry, but I got a little ambitious on the cleaning side and I didn't actually record it. But this is the 68,000 chip. I did use the chip puller to pull it out. And this one side, I believe it's this side, it was about halfway up the chip, and there was a lot of corrosion. And what I did is I put some more vinegar on here, and I've seen on some other videos where people use sandpaper. Excuse me. People use sandpaper to, you know, clean these pins. Well, I don't have any sandpaper. I'm just working with the tools I have around the house, and luckily I have this little late 90s computer repair toolkit, and it came with this. That one end is just a flathead screwdriver, but this other end is this little wire brush. So I used this wire brush, and of course I held it with this, and I just, you know, brushed these legs of this chip on both sides. You know, I turned it over, I got the other half, and I pretty much got all the green corrosion off of there. So these legs are pretty clean. So I think the CPU might be okay, unless it, like, you know, it could have traveled up inside the chip. That's a possibility. But my biggest concern right now is this, what I just showed you, this socket that has these recessed there's supposed to be a socket plug there, and in these three holes as well. This one and those two, they're looking really rough. So I'm a little bit worried about that. I'm pretty sure it didn't get over here to the ROM. But that's that. Okay, my next step is I want to clean up this case. It's not too totally bad on the inside, but there are all these like fingerprints that become, I don't know, I guess corroded or something, all along this side, and wherever fingers have touched, I guess, has kind of damaged that. And of course, as you remember, I've got the bent case there. I have a broken plastic connector here and here. This side seems okay, but it is slightly bent right there, so I need to bend that back. And there's another one there. So hopefully I can use some epoxy and fix that. But the first order of business is I need to clean this, because as you can see, it's pretty grimy. I mean, this is damage I can't fix without like just doing a repaint, like a little touch-up paint or something. But it's just really cruddy and dirty, and it just needs a good wash. So yeah. I got this from a friend who always labeled all his 2000s. I'm pretty sure I bought this one, but oh no, this is one my friend gave me. He bought it off a Goodwill pallet. He bought an entire pallet of mostly Windows 95 and 486 machines, but it had this one Amiga 2000 on it. So he bought this entire pallet for like $100 or something like that. And all he took was this and left the rest of the pallet at the Goodwill. He used to do stuff like that a lot. So I guess when he first gave it to me, it had, and it was shortly after this, 698, he has the date. But it had the Rev 6.2 motherboard, which I already showed you. It's got, it had a 2.1 ROM in it, 3 megs of RAM, which must have been some slow RAM that plugs in the the Zorro 2 slot, and I'm not sure what this is, Nexus something controller, some kind of, well, it's scraped off, Nexus controller. Probably a hard drive controller, I would imagine. And yeah, so that's kind of nostalgic, but it's just something my friend put on there. I don't know if I want to try to save that or not. It's just a piece of an old paper sticker from the 90s. So at least I'll have a record of it. And I'll probably take a photo of this as well. So I'll come back to this. So I'm going to remove this faceplate from my Amiga 2000. It's just these 5 screws here. And this is the side with the broken standoffs. And I'm going to try to epoxy back on. Hopefully that'll work. And this front part should come off since that's already broken. And this will be much easier. Put the screwdriver there, and let me get it started, and then I can just twist the back since it's already broken off, and that comes right off. So yeah, it's a little bent. Let's see, there's a little divot there. This obviously, it fell down. It was pushed up against a wall with the back to the wall, and it fell down straight on its face. So you see it's crooked there. It's dented in right there. This should be pretty easy to work out with just a pair of pliers. And this, just with my hand and some pressure, I should be able to straighten these areas out. Shouldn't be too terribly difficult. And here's the front face plate. And I do have those two broken off standoffs here. One all the way down to the end. That one's broken off in the middle. This one is tweaked a little, but it's still intact. So hopefully once I bend the front piece back together and screw that in there, it'll sort of bend back into shape, I hope. And I've got this cracked area here, and this part that I showed in the first video, I discovered I do actually still have the piece that fits on there. And I saw somewhere, I think it was on, yeah, it was on Adrian's Digital Basement. He had a bread bin board that had been cracked, and he found out some way to fix it. I think he used, what did he use? I don't know. I'm going to go back and look at that video. I think it was acetone, which I have some, which is basically just nail polish remover. And I guess the acetone breaks down the plastic and causes it to rebond. It can rebond these two pieces together. So that'd be nice if I could fix that. At least it won't look so shabby. So there's that part. And here's the bottom case. And it's actually, the bottom is pretty straight. The only thing is, it has these LED lights that plug on the front here. And I want to remove those. It just pops right out. And you feed these wires through the front. And that's just so I can clean this. Clean this case up without submerging electronic parts in water. And I'm probably going to clean that off with a paper towel or something. So that's that part. And I guess my next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wash these cases out. Because there's some dust bunny. There's a dust bunny right there. Beautiful. Gotta love it. And I've got to start working on that CD-ROM drive too. I got to remove that from the chassis. I was using the wrong terminology in my last video. It's called a chassis. Got it sitting right here with that probably destroyed CD-ROM drive, and that's the one that takes the little caddies, and I'm not even sure where my caddies are. Hopefully I still have them in my storage unit, but they may be long gone, and I may not even be able to use this again. So I don't have a whole lot of stuff on CD for the Amiga, but I do have a distribution of Linux, and it's not specifically for the Amiga, but it's a 68,000 release that works on the Amiga, and I think I might have installed it at one point way back in the late 90s after I bought it. I think it was released in like 97 or 98, and I do still have my original keyboard right there, and as far as I remember, I think the spacebar wasn't working last time I hooked this up. So, and my dumbass, I had these cords wrapped around the keyboard, and that's why it's all stretched out and messed up. Look at the cord. It's all stretched out and deformed looking. Hopefully I can get that working again. And I do have a mouse. I have like 3 different mice actually. And I have a lot of other peripherals, which I'll show off in a later video. But I just thought I'd do that quick little section there. And I'm moving on to the cleaning stage. Alright, take care.